Are you a big fan of tower defense games you can get on your mobile device? Are you a big fan of the fantasy genre? Do you read a lot of fantasy books, Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, like all that kind of stuff? Well, if those two things both apply to you, I have the perfect game for you. It's a game that I got early on in my collection and has been one of my favorite games ever since. Today on Joker Reviews, we're going to be discussing Castle Panic. The theme behind Castle Panic is simple. You have built up this castle. You have moved your men in. You have trained your soldiers. You have prepared to live here in this wonderful multicolored forest clearing. But there is a problem because there are monsters in the forest. Goblins and orcs and trolls and various other creepy crawlies. They have been watching you build up your society, watching you build up your walls and train your soldiers, and they have prepared an army to attack you. Setup for Castle Panic is easy. You just set up this board. You will place all these plastic stand castle pieces into the center ring here. You put your walls on the exterior ring here, right on the lines. You have to go into your monster tiles and find 3 goblins, 2 orcs, and 1 troll, and place them on the board. Players then determine where they go, in which arc, based on the numbers, and then you deal out cards to the number of players that you have playing. For a 2-player game, you deal out 6 cards. For a 6-player game, you deal out 4 cards, and for a 3 to 5 player game, you deal out 5 cards. Most of the time, you're going to be dealing out those 5 cards. The remaining monster tiles will be placed in some sort of container, whether it's a bag or a cup, and you will use that vessel to hide what you're drawing out, because you're going to be drawing the monster tokens out every turn. You then will follow this order of play on every turn. You'll draw up to your maximum number of cards. You then have the option to, let's say, we're going to look at this with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to do 6 cards like we're doing a 2-player game. So this is your hand right here. And now you have the ability, based on what you may need or what you may not need, we'll go break down the cards in a little while, to discard this card. Say we don't want that. And we can then take another card. Then we got another swordsman. Maybe that one's a little bit more useful to us. At the moment, it's not really. The hero is useful to us. And the archer. That's really all we can use right now. But like I said, we'll go over that in a minute. So you can discard and draw. You then have the ability to trade with another player. So say somebody else feels like on the next turn they might need a knight, and you don't need a knight. So you can trade your knight. They trade you something in return. Say they traded you, they had knight for a knight. That would be kind of dumb. But so they trade you a card. You trade them a card, and it has to be agreed on with both players. Then you can play your cards. So let's say we play the archer here. Archer can hit it's a green archer, so it can hit anything in the green archer ring. So it's going to take out this goblin. We'll get into a little bit more detail on what all the cards do in a second. Then you have to move your monsters. Every monster that's on the board is going to move up 1 spot closer to your castle. And the last step is you have to draw 2 monster tiles. These are completely random. So we have a troll, and so we got to roll to see where the troll goes. Troll goes to 2. It starts in the forest ring. The first turn is the only exception where they start earlier than the forest ring. Then we have to roll on this one because this is a giant boulder. Giant boulders will just demolish your walls. So it's on 1. That giant boulder goes all the way down through this goblin, killing that goblin, and taking out your wall. We don't like to see that. Now our castle is exposed on that side. Oh no! But that is how a typical turn will work. Now let's get into some of the typical cards you might be able to use. So we'll put those in there. Let's bring up, I got some different types of cards here. So we have Brick and Mortar. Brick and Mortar is able to repair a wall if you play them both together. So we play a brick and a mortar. We can now rebuild that wall that was destroyed by the boulder, which is kind of nice. You have that protection back. We have some special cards. So like this is a tar card. It's basically like you're dumping tar onto the monster. So like this is the little tar indicator. You'd throw it on the goblin, and that would prevent the monster from moving this turn, which is nice. So like say it's really mostly useful if you have a monster, say like right outside your castle about to destroy your wall. Drop the tar on there, so he's not going to be able to move. Here's Nice Shot. You can play this with any card to slay the monster with one hit. So like if you're fighting this troll, say you didn't use the tar here, we'll use the tar over here or whatever, and you wanted to kill that troll, you need a red swordsman or a hero. But it's so close. Let's see if we can find a red swordsman here so I can show you. Here's a red swordsman. So it's so close that you'd not be able to kill it with one red swordsman, because the red swordsman is only going to do 1 health, so that would turn the token to the side here. But if you play this red swordsman with Nice Shot, that's going to allow you to just slay it in 1 hit. So it's completely dead, which is really nice. It's a great card. So here's another special one. This is Fortify Wall. That allows you to take one of these Fortify tokens. Oops. Oh, I just destroyed my castle. You are always the danger to your own castle. So we take this Fortify Wall piece, and it would fit right in there, which I think is kind of cool from a component standpoint. So now if a monster was, say, here, and it attacked that wall, it would destroy the Fortify piece first before it destroys the wall, which is kind of nice. Gives you a little extra time. Now here are the 3 basic cards. The 3 basic cards are the Archer, the Knight, and the Swordsman. These come in a specific color, or they come in any color. So if it's an any color card, these will each be different colors. So it would be like a blue, a green, and a red dot. So that would show that you can do it for any, and it'll be called any color Archer. So now these only work on their specific ring. So say you have a troll on that ring right there. It's labeled Archer ring, and it's in the red section. So you could use this Archer card to damage the troll. Now it turns around, so you have the 2 facing the castle instead of the 3. That denotes hit points. Say, for instance, we have this Goblin in the Knight ring. We have a red Knight. So now this is able to hit this Goblin here. So that would just kill it because it only has 1 health, so it doesn't turn around. And here's the Swordsman. We kind of went over the Swordsman before. But so we got this Swordsman. He could hit in the Swordsman ring, which is the closest. That would turn that to 1 health. He's tarred, but that's fine. He can still lose health. And then you have the Hero. The Hero is able to, whatever color they're indicating, able to attack any of the rows, which is really cool. And then you have a one-of-a-kind special card in the deck. You have the Barbarian. The Barbarian is able to 1-hit KO any monster anywhere, including inside of the castle ring. So if they break through the wall and they start ravaging your castle, they're inside the castle ring. You cannot kill anything in the castle ring unless you have a specific card that allows you to. Swordsmen can't do it, Knights can't do it, and Archers can't do it. The Barbarian can. He can do it in the castle ring, but he cannot attack anything in the forest. So those are just some kind of cards you can go up against. There are some other special cards that allow you to do other things, like drawing, or let's see if we can go. We'll go through some of them here. So here's an any color Knight, some brick, some mortar, scavenge. This allows you to pick a card out of the discard pile. So you'll probably be using this on like either your Nice Shot or your Barbarian to pull it out of the discard pile. Here's one that allows you to draw 2 cards, and you're allowed to do this even if it puts you over the normal hand size. Missing, this one allows you to go a turn without drawing any cards or any tokens. and adding monsters to the board. So that was nice if you're already kind of overwhelmed. It gives you a little bit of a breather. Now let's go over the monster tiles. So we're going to kind of look at some of the tiles I'd already shown you here. So like you have goblins. A lot of them are going to be these base ones. Goblins only have 1 health. You have trolls, which have 3 health. Those can be kind of obnoxious. You have the orcs down here, which have 2 health. You have special ones like, as we saw before, the giant boulder, which is just kind of, that one can just kind of come out of nowhere and just take out your castle. It always seems like the die always rolls the one space that doesn't have a wall, so it's going to actually hit a castle. There's some other special ones, which are the like draw 4 monster tokens and you have to resolve them all in one thing. Some of they can be actual special ones too. You have plague knights or plague swordsmen, plague archers. That basically just everything you have in your hand. All players that have in their hand, they just have to get rid of those. So if it's plague knights, you have to get rid of all your knights, which can be kind of a hazard. Blue monsters move 1, so this can kind of really throw you off if you had planned out trading cards around. So like, you know it's going to be this person's turn, and this is going to be in the night ring by the time it gets there, and you've traded cards and it's ready, and then it's blue monsters move 1, and now it's all of a sudden it's in the swordsman ring, and it kind of messes up your whole plan. There's a giant boulder again. This one is draw 4 monster tokens. So yeah, some special ones. And then you have boss monsters. And boss monsters are stronger monsters that come with special effects. So like being able to heal, or the troll mage, you place the troll mage down and then you move all monsters, including the troll mage, forward 1 space or 1 ring. Orc Warlord will do basically the same thing, but he'll only do it in the one that he gets placed in, the color. Goblin King. So they're all kind of special effect monsters. They're not super hard to defeat on their own, but they are kind of annoying. They can really mess up your plan if they come out at the wrong time. That's really what it comes in. It's all about timing on when you draw them. And since it's random, you will never know when you're going to draw them. The last thing I wanted to touch on in the mechanics section is the fact that there are multiple ways you can play the game. It's a co-op experience normally, but you have 2 different versions of a co-op experience. One is the standard version, which is where you are kind of sort of competing with your players as well. So you like have these monsters and they're worth a certain amount of points when you kill them, and then at the end there's a monster slayer and you determine who is the monster slayer by the most points. And then you have a straight co-op version where there is no monster slayer and you're completely cooperative. Then there is the overlord mode, and the overlord mode is when one player gets to take control of the monster tokens. And he has restrictions on what he can do. He still has to roll die when he places monsters, but he kind of has a hand of tokens that he can draw from and decide when different monsters get placed down. And there's some choices. Some of these have different effects. So like this would allow him to draw 4 monster tokens into his hand and then decide which ones go down onto the field. So that can be kind of fun. You actually have a little bit of a method to the madness, and doing something like throwing out a giant boulder at the wrong time, or being able to decide when something like a troll mage or a healer gets placed out, even if you don't get to pick where it's going, but that can really mess up the other players' kind of plans that they have working, and you get to see what they're doing, and you're kind of at the table, so you can really kind of mess them up. So that's kind of how this works mechanically. I'll meet you back up top, and we're going to talk about my final thoughts on the game. So now that you know how Castle Panic works mechanically, let me talk a little bit about what I think of the game as a whole. I really enjoy this game. It's up there, maybe second, third-ish. It's definitely top 5 when it comes to cooperative games that are out there. I think it's balanced very well for a cooperative game. There are a lot of games where it feels like the cooperative aspects are kind of hodgepodge together, but this one works really well. It's kind of like a Pandemic. Pandemic is a really good cooperative game, and this one works really well. They balance the trading, they balance the different difficulties of the monsters, and you kind of do have to communicate with your other tower defenders in order for you to come out on top. There's enough ability for the monsters to kind of snowball where you can get easily overwhelmed if you make a couple of mistakes. And I definitely like that in cooperative games. It's very similar to, like I was saying, Pandemic, where in Pandemic you can be going really well, having no problems, and all of a sudden you get a couple of back-to-back epidemic cards that hit in the wrong place, and it just can kind of snowball, and you are all of a sudden in like it's a race against time kind of thing. And this kind of feels like that, where you have to make the right plays at certain times. Hey, if you get a monster that gets into your castle ring and it's like you're kind of drawing through, you have to use your barbarian, you have to use your scavengers at the right time, you have to use the right pieces just when you need to, make the right trades, and kind of really think ahead on it. There's enough ability for the monsters to go from no threat to great threat really quickly, and I really appreciate that. There's also kind of the ticking like time aspect of the tokens running out, which is cool because you're like, I can make it through. I only have a little bit left. I can feel the tokens that I have in the bottom of the cup. So I really like that. I like the artwork. It's kind of a cartoony fantasy artwork, and I appreciate that. It's not trying to be more than what it actually is. It's a cartoony art style, and I'm not going to hold that against it because that's what they were going for, and I feel like they succeed in it. It's also a game that supported itself. It has a couple of expansions, which I appreciate. We'll probably do a review on them at some point. And I always appreciate games that will support their fans and continue to give content into the future. In terms of cons, I don't really have very many cons with this game. I don't like the little plastic stands that you put the castle pieces in, but I will say I do like these better than most, because these are ones where you kind of have to flex them and then put the castle in, and it's a nice, like, it fits in there nicely. It doesn't indent on the little cardboard pieces. The tokens are good quality. The cards are decent quality, and I don't think there's really a lot of cons with the game. I would say the Overlord mode doesn't seem quite as balanced as the cooperative, but I do appreciate the fact that they have it, because it makes you, if you're somebody who plays this game a lot with friends and you're somebody who's gone through the cooperative experience many times and you've done like the standard cooperative / competitive experience, you can do the Overlord, and it is different, and you don't usually have that in a lot of cooperative games where they have that kind of, where a lot of games that are competitive might have a cooperative mode tacked on. This one is a cooperative game that has a competitive mode tacked on, and that's fine. They're just trying to spice it up, give you a little bit of freedom in how you play, and a little bit ways of playing with different groups that might not want to do a fully cooperative experience. So I appreciate that. In terms of a final score, I'd probably be, because of I've had this game for so long and I've played it so many times, I probably have to give it about an 8, maybe an 8.5. I think I'll stick with an 8. It's an 8. It's definitely, like I said, top 5 in my cooperative games that I have in my collection. And I have a fair few in my collection. Especially, it's really high up there in the ones that don't have a trader mechanic, because I tend to like the ones that have a trader mechanic. And this one does really well. If you want to pick up a copy of this game, definitely check out the link down below in the description. It comes at no extra cost to you, and it really helps out the channel. If you really like these game reviews, then definitely make sure to give us a like. We really like likes. Thumbs up, definitely. And subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. What's your favorite cooperative game? Or give me your top 5 if you want, if you can't narrow it down to just one. Hit that notification bell so you know what's up. And I'll catch you in the next video, guys.